We learned about the variables, data types, operators, which we use in JavaScript. Then we learned about the DOM manipulation using JavaScript. And on day 3, means yesterday, we learned about the React. What is Node.js? What is React? Okay. And we built the front end part of our project, which was authentication. Okay. A simple user authentication. We built the front end part, and today we will learn about back end part. Okay. So just wait for a few more minutes and then we will start. Okay.
I guess we should start by now, Ratan.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So today we will see the backend part. Sorry for that. Today we'll see the backend part and we will start with Express.js. So what is Express.js? So Express.js is a framework which works on top of the Node.js. We use Express.js to manage middleware, routing, used to create RESTful APIs. These words maybe you may find them difficult, or maybe you find them difficult to understand. But we'll see these are very easy terms, and we'll see practically about all these. And we will use MongoDB as our database. So what is MongoDB? So MongoDB is document oriented database. It's a no SQL database. The advantage of Mongo over SQL is like it the data which stored is in MongoDB is in JSON format, which makes it easy to manipulate or update, create using JavaScript. So easy. It is not necessary to give a strict definition in MongoDB like in SQL. In SQL we have to give a strict schema for a database or a table, but in MongoDB there is no restrictions. Okay, so let's jump onto the backend part. Okay, so we saw the front end part using React. Let me just plug these all into a folder like say client, and let me just move all these files into the client folder. Okay, let's create a folder named server, and we will build all our server part in this folder. Before building server part, let's just start our front end. And meanwhile, the front end server will start. We will, start creating our backend. Okay, so just move directly to client, npm start. Okay. Meanwhile, our front end is starting. Let's just, initiate our backend. So we'll use npm init y to, create a package.json file to initiate our backend part. Okay. So here we are. Let's move this package.json file into the server folder. Okay. Let's move to the directory of server. Now we need to install a dependency. O- Again, we are going to use Express, so we need to install Express. Let's go with npm install Express. Okay, so Express has been installed. Let's check our package.json, and here in dependencies we can see that Express has been installed. So let's create a file named app.js, and let's import the Express. Okay, so how we use Express? Actually, there are so many methods inside Express. So it is easy or it is convenient to go with a variable named app, and you know we can uh, access all those methods with ease using this. So let's create our server. Okay, so how we'll create our server? It is so easy. Again, we just need to do this app dot listen, then go with the port. I will say 5000, and then we will call a callback function. Okay, here is our front end starting. Okay, so we will go with a callback function, and we will just say like console.log server running for the confirmation whether it is running or not. Now, I will recommend you all to install Node 1, because if we will run this file using Node app.js, we will have to, restart manually each time we'll update this file. So I recommend you all to, install Node so that even if a small change is made to any of these files, the file, Node 1 will automatically restart the whole server. Okay. So I will go with Node 1 app.js. Here we are seeing a message which says server is running. So our server is created, which is running on port number 5000. Let's go with our first API, which will be app.get, and path will be this. Let's create a callback function which will have two arguments, request and then response. Okay, let's say uh, response.send hello server. Okay, let's check our server. So here we will go localhost and 5000. We are seeing a message, hello server. I hope you guys can see this. Okay, hello server. It's mean our first API, we have created our first get API using Express.js. Now in front end part, we have saw that we are having two pages like login and register. So we have to create uh, two APIs, both for login and register. So let's quickly go to the front end part where we have created the components of login and register. First, go with register. So here we can see, okay, here we can see we are using this API. Okay, we have to go on this route. So I will copy this, and we can see that here method is post. So we'll go to our server. We will create app.post, then the path, then same request and response. Now, what we have to do, we are sending this body, which has name, email, and password. So we need to destructure these objects. So first is name. Second one is email. Third one is password from request.body, because all these three things are in body here. You can see. Okay. So here we will have our name, email, and password. Let's quickly console them for convenient. Like here you can say request.body, and we will have confirmation whether we are having our name, email, or password or not. Okay. But before we go forward, we can see that we are sending all this in JSON format. So to ensure that our server is capable to pass JSON strings, we'll have to use app.use express.json. Okay, we have to write this statement so that our server can pass JSON strings. Okay, when we will do this, let's there's one more thing. Actually, our front end is running on localhost 3000 and our server is running on, just a second. Okay, so our front end is running on localhost 3000 and our backend is running on localhost 5000. But here we are, let me go to the register component. We can see that we are not, writing whole like HTTP localhost 5000 then slash sign up. We are using just slash sign up. So it's better to create a proxy. So we'll go with proxy, and we will proxy all our requests to HTTP localhost 5000. Okay, just make a little change in the front end part and package.json. Okay, let's go to our front end. Here we have register. Let's say go Ratan, then email Ratandeep, and any password. Let's click submit. Okay, let's see if our server is able to pass all these strings. Okay, here's some error. Let me just restart our server. Nodemon app.js. Okay. Okay, so I am not receiving my data. Let's see what is the problem here. Request.body, console.log. Okay. Oh, I think I have to restart my front end because I have created the proxy later. Okay, so go to register, type Ratan. Okay, click submit, and let's check our server. Okay, see here we are receiving all our data. Now, what we have to do? We have to save all these data in our database. So let's go with MongoDB. I prefer, using MongoDB Atlas over MongoDB local server because Atlas provides, cloud service for database. So we can access our database from anywhere. So go with cloud MongoDB server. Okay, so let's go here and hit new project. Let's give a name like Chronicles. Hit create project. And here we are. Let's build our first database. Okay, so we will go with free version here. Hit create. Okay, let's give a simple username like Ratan, and let's give a simple password like mm, bootcamp. Let's give bootcamp. Okay, hit create user. Now we have to add some entry of IP addresses here from where we want to access our database. So if you want to access database from anywhere, just add 0.0.0.0/0. So it will make a global entry so that you can access your database from anywhere. Let's hit finish and go to database. Now, meanwhile, our cluster is forming. Let's hit connect and hit MongoDB for VS Code. Okay, here we will have our link, this link. We have to use this link to connect to our database. Let's go back to our server. Now, using Node.js, how we can connect our database, our MongoDB database. So there is a module named Mongoose. We have to install that. Okay, so hit terminal, go to the directory server, and just hit npm install mongoose. Okay, mongoose has been installed. Let's go to server. Now, as we have imported Express, in the same way we have to import mongoose. Once the mongoose has been imported, let's connect to our database. So here, let's go with uh, mongoose.connect, and here we will pass our uh, string that we just copied as our argument. So let's go and paste. Let's go and paste our string here. Now, in this particular part where password is written, we have to enter that password which we just created for the database, which was bootcamp. Okay, and this particular statement will return a promise. And we talked about promise yesterday that we have to, the promise will either fulfilled or it will not. So we have to catch that particular in that then or catch, methods. So if promise is fulfilled, then we will use a callback function and use console.log, and we will give connected to confirm if our database is connected or not. And if the promise is not fulfilled, then we will use catch error and console.log error. Okay, simple. Let's see if our data is okay. Here we are getting message connected. It means our database is connected. Now let's come again to this sign up API. Okay, so here we will start saving the data into our database. So we have all details in these particular fields. Let's go with let's first create a schema, a basic schema. So we will go with uh, just a second. Okay, so we will go with uh, schema say user. Okay, and we will create our first schema, which is okay, new mongoose dot schema. And let's create our first schema for the database, which will be first we will have name, whose type will be string, and this field will be required. So we will say required is true. Then second, we will have email, whose type will also be string, and this field will also be required. Then we will have password, whose type will also be string, and this field will be required also. Okay. So here we have our basic user schema. Now, when we have schema, let's create our model. So how to create model? Very simple. Let's just save const user. Let's go with here user schema. Let's say user schema. And here we will say user. Let's create model. So mongoose dot model. Let's say our our collection name will be user, and our schema is user schema. Perfect. Here we have created our model. Okay, let's quickly see if our model is created here or not. Just hit browse collections, and here we have our model, or we can say schema. Okay, when we have our schema ready, let's quickly, add all the details which user is, uh, trying to, register himself into the database. So we will say with user dot. There is a method provided by Mongoose which says find one. Now this find one will search a particular field into our database or particular value into our database. So the first value I'm entering here is the database value, and the second value I'm providing here will be the value which is entered by user. So this particular statement here or this particular method here will search the user provided email into our database. So again, this particular method returns a promise. So we'll have to catch it. If the promise is fulfilled, there are chances that user is existing. So we'll go with user exist. This callback function. Now, if user is existing, then what we'll have to return? If the user is registering with the email which is already present on our database, we will simply return it and send a response with a status code 424. There are, let me introduce you all with HTTP status codes. So here you can see that for a successful response, we can use 200 to 299. For a client error, we can use 400 to 499 codes, and for a server error, we can use 500 to 599. So 424 code here represent that a user is already or entity is already present. So we will just run this status code and a message saying that user exists. Simple. Okay. Now, if user is not existing, what we'll do? We will simply create our user. Okay, const user, new user, and all the details, name, email, and password. Now, this variable here has a new model, and we just need to save this. So we'll go with user dot save. Okay, so this particular save method also returns a promise. So we will go with then, and inside then we will go with the callback function, which will send a response and status 200. We have just saw that status code 200 to 299 are for successful response, and we will say send a JSON message saying successfully uh, registered. Okay, perfect. Let's go to our front end part. and try to, submit this. Let's see. Let's go to our database and check if the user is registered or not. Perfect. See, here we have our data, our first registered user. Okay. So how the front end part will know that our user is successfully registered? Because you all guys saw that when I clicked the submit, nothing happened in the front end part. So how will the user, actually know that the user has been registered? So in yesterday's session, we saw that the response which is coming from the backend is here. So let's go with simple response dot status. And if this status is equal to 200, because we are sending status code 200 if user is, registered successfully. So we will go with if status code is equal to 200, then we'll simply give a alert that user registered. And we are also, sending a status code 424 for the user which are, registering with the email ID which is already present in our database. So let's create an alert for that too. Let's go with 424 and user exists. Okay, perfect. Let's click submit. See, here it is saying user exists because we are registering with the email which is already present. Let's go with a random email. Let's say Ratan, let's go with today's date, which is 04 at the rate gmail.com. And let's go with the name bootcamp. Okay, let's hit submit. We can see that user registered. It means a new entry has been made to our database. Let's try to refresh it. Okay, see, here we are having both of our objects or both of our documents. Okay, so we have done our register part. Let's go to login part. Okay, now a user has been registered. How he will log in? How to what functionality we have to do in our backend so that we can check whether person is authenticated or not, whether a user is authentic or not. So let's go to login in front end component, and yeah, here we have our path which we have to use in our backend. So let's quickly create another route. Let's go with app.host and create our API here. Let's create our callback function, which is request response. Again, here the user from front end is sending these two fields, email and password. So we have to destructure them in backend. Say const what was it, email and password, and all this will be from request.body. To confirm whether we are receiving all these details from front end or not, let's go with request.body. Okay, perfect. Let's go to front end login route. Okay, here we are. Let's try to enter Ratandeep and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Hit submit and let's go to our. Okay, see here we are receiving all our data. Now let's start with validation. So what we'll do? We saw earlier that there is a method named find one. We'll use same method, which is find one. And what we have to search? We have to search whether the person with a particular email ID is registered or not. So we'll go with again email. We will check in our database that the email entered by a user is present in our database or not. It will return a promise and it will return some user. Okay. Now here, If user is existing in our database, then what we will have to do? It means the email ID entered by user is already present. So if the email ID is present, then we will check for the password, that whether the person entering password is equal to the password actually on our database are equal or not. So just go with uh, user exist.password. So this particular password is from our client, and this particular user exist dot password is from our database. So if these two are equal, then we will send a response with status code, say 200, because it is a successful login. So we will send a message saying logged in successfully. But if the password entered by user is not equal to the password present on our database, then we will say response dot status 401, which is I think for wrong entry by the client. So let's say response dot status 401, send a message saying uh, wrong password. Okay, let's see. Uh, Before proceeding, let me take you to the front end part. And as we, did in our registered part, checked the, status code receiving from backend. Let's go same with login part. So here we will check if the response sent from backend is equal to 200, then we will go with alert saying logged in successfully. Or if the status code is 401, then we'll say alert wrong password. Okay, let me just go here. Okay, there's one more thing I want to add. Here we are saying that if user exists, what if user is not existing? Then let's send a more status code, which is response dot status 404. I think error 404. All of you are all we know what is error 404. It means does not exist. So send a JSON message saying user does not exist. Let's create an alert for this too. Let's go with error or status code 404 saying user does not exist. Okay, perfect. Let's go to our login, hit submit. Here we are saying it is saying that logged in successfully. Okay, let me just change the password little bit. Uh, Let me change the password, hit submit. Okay, here it is showing wrong password. Again, let me use some random email which is not registered. So it is showing user does not exist. Okay, perfect. So we have created the basic functionality for our register and login routes. Okay, now what we have to do? Yesterday we saw that in our nav bar, if if the person is logged in, then we'll have to show profile and logout functionality. And if our person is not logged in, then we'll have to show login and register. So there is one thing we say context API. So what is context API? Actually, we are using use state hook to access states which are locally available. What if we have to pass some states throughout our app? So we use context API in that particular part. So how to do that? let's go to app.js in the front end part. Here, we will create context API using um, using create context and use reducer. First of all, let's understand what is reducer. Actually, let me just here create a file named reducer.js. So what is reducer? Actually, reducer is, a functionality, by which we can manage or manipulate states. It has a initial state. Let's go with false by default. And it has a basic reducer in which we have two things. First is state itself and other is action. Now, this action will trigger whether the state will be manipulated or not. So let's say if action.type is login, then we will return true. It means person is logged in. Okay. But if the action dot type is log out, then we will return false. Okay. So now we have to use these things in our app so that we can, alter these login and register after, successfully login. So let me go to front end part and create our first context. So we'll use here import create context and use reducer. These two things we have to use. First is to create context, and the context which we are going to create, we have to export it so that we can use that context anywhere in our app. So let's go with export const context, and we will create our context. Okay. Also, we have to import our initial state and our reducer from the reducer file which we have just created here. Okay. When we have created our context, let me just create use reducer by const state, the state of our reducer, and reducer is dispatch. This dispatch, sorry, dispatch. Okay, this dispatch will dispatch or trigger the action to be perform, and this state will provide the state value. Okay, so now we have to provide these reducer throughout our app. So we'll go with context dot provider, and we will pass a value which will be state and dispatch, and we will wrap our whole app inside this. Okay. Now, how a context API work? Actually, we studied props yesterday. In props, what we have to do, we have to pass props in each component throughout the component tree. But in context API, we just have to pass the context to root elements, and any child element, doesn't matter whether it is immediate child or normal child or leaf child. It can use context API anywhere in the app. So we have to use this context API in our login component so that we can change the state to true as soon as person is logged in. So we'll go here, we will just import the context from our app. Here is our app. Perfect. Now, how we have to use it? We have to use it by just, go here, and we have to, the structure our state and dispatch function here, and also we have to import use context here. Okay, copy this, paste here, and we have to use context which we have created in our app file. Okay, perfect. This part we have done. Now we have to dispatch of action which will return a state as true. So when we have to do that, we have to do that when our person or our user is logged in successfully. So we'll go dispatch and we will go type, and type will be login, because in our reducer we are saying if action.type is login, then we will have to return true. So we are here saying type is login. Okay, perfect. Now go to the nav bar. Again, here we have to use our context. So just import the context from our app, and also we have to import, sorry, use context. And again, now we do not need this particular use state. We'll go with true. We'll remove this and we will destructure our context by state and dispatch. Go with use context, and here we will provide our context. Perfect. Now we have to use this state. If the value of this state is true, then these particular nav links will be appear. If the state value is false, then this particular nav links will be appearing. Let's go to our front end. Okay, so here we have login. Let's quickly log into our account. Okay, it is saying logged in successfully. Okay. Reducer is not a function. Okay, let me just see. Const reducer. I think everything is fine here, I think. Okay, we go to here. Sorry, this is the backend part. Oh, okay. Sorry, we haven't provided our reducer and initial state in this part. Okay, so we have to provide our reducer and initial state in the use reducer. So let's go with reducer and initial state. Perfect. Let's try to log in. Sorry, user does not exist. Of course, we have to provide a email. 123456789. Submit. See, here we have our profile and logout functionality. Now, if I click this logout, nothing will happen because we have not created a route saying logout. Let's create a route in our app.js. Okay, so we have our route, but let's go to the logout part here. Okay, so what we have to do in our logout? So we will use a state which is use effect. This hook is used to trigger a function or trigger a callback function or some operations as soon as a component is rendered. So it accepts a callback function and a dependency array as arguments. What is this callback function? What is the dependency array? We'll talk about it. So whatever the functionality or whatever operations, whatever sets of instructions we want to perform, we will write that all in this particular field. So we want to dispatch uh, action which will be dispatch an action which is logout. Okay. Now we have to use our context API here. So let's import context from app.js. Okay, and we have to use context also. So let's go with use context. Perfect. Let's destructure our context here, which is state and dispatch. And let's use our context, which is context itself. Perfect. So we are dispatching action which is logout, and on logout we have to set the state as false. So we'll go to here. Now what is this dependency array? Actually, this use effect is performing some actions like here dispatch as soon as the component is rendered. But what if we want to re-render our component? So we have this dependency array here. Here we can enter some variable like state. So what we will do is, as soon as this particular state is changed, it will automatically re-render the whole component. Okay. So we do not have to, re-render it all the time. So we'll go with an empty dependency array. Let's check our logout route. Okay. See, here we have our login and register. Let's just quickly re-login. Return and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's click submit. User logged in successfully. See, we have our profile and logout. Let's click logout. Again, see, we have our logout and login functionality fully functional. Now, let's add some quickly some more features like if a person is registering, we have saw that. Let me just delete all these both documents here, and let's start with a quick registration. Okay, let me just register a new person, say bootcamp. Email will be Ratandeep, same as it is. Let's go with a password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and let hit submit. See, here we are receiving a message which says user registered, but as soon as we click OK, nothing will happen. What if we want to redirect this particular component to the login component? So we have a particular thing, say navigate in our React router DOM. So we'll go to register component here, and we will import, say use navigate component from React router DOM. Okay, perfect. Now let's create a state, say navigate, and let's create our navigation. Okay, okay, perfect. Now, how we'll navigate or how we'll redirect our component to login? So here, if the user is successfully registered, so what we have to do? We are giving an alert, and as soon as the alert is over, we want to navigate the person to login route. Okay, let's try to register again. Say ratan@gmail.com and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Let's hit submit. User registered. Okay. Uh, I think something is not good here. Navigate. I think it's perfect. Let's see if the client is okay or not. Yeah, it is also okay. Let me re-register a user. Okay. Here we have our register. Let's say Ratan at the rate Gmail. dot com, and let's go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we are navigating to login route. So let's again log in Ratan at the rate gmail.com 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and hit submit. So it is saying user does not exist. Oh, sorry, it's Gmail. Okay, hit submit and logged in successfully. So we are seeing that after successfully logging, it is also showing me this login component. So what if we want to hit some hello or something. So I want to navigate to profile, a profile component. I have here profile component. Let's do the same. Let's navigate to a profile component here. So let's import use navigate from React router DOM and quickly just make a navigate method here using use navigate. And as soon as the person is logged in successfully, we will navigate to our profile. Okay, perfect. Use, I think spelling of use navigate is wrong. Okay, perfect. Let's go with Ratan at the rate gmail.com and password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and hit submit. Logged in successfully. See, we have a basic functionality of login and log out of a user. Say, if we hit log out, it will again show login and register. And we can, navigate to login component and register component by clicking on those two functions. Now, let's come to security part of this project or this app. Let's go to backend. Here we have, here we have the link of our database as it is. Let's say if we want to, uh, upload this project into a GitHub repo, and if this and that repo is public, anyone can access this database link. We do not want that. Okay, so we want this to be private. So what we use a environment variable in that particular case. So we have a module which is .env. Let me just quickly install that module, which is npm install dot env. Okay, so what is env? Actually, it is a module which make it easy to access uh, environment variables. So let me create a config.env file which will have all the secret information about our project, like API links, API keys, database link. Okay, so let's go with database here and let us cut it from here and paste it here. Okay, perfect. Now what we'll have to do in this app, we have to import our .env module, same using require.env. Now we have to configure this env file here. So we will go with .env.config and we will go with path. So what is the path? It is slash and what config.env. Perfect. Now here we have to provide this variable, this database variable, which is having our database link. So how to access that? So we'll write process dot env dot the variable name itself, which is database. Okay, let us see whether we are able to connect to database or not. Okay, so here it is showing a message which is connected. It means we are able to hide all our secret information here. Perfect. Again, let's try to if we try to access our database, we will see that the password is saving as it is, which I don't think is a good practice. Okay, so what we'll do, we will encrypt this password so that no one else can see this password, even not the admin itself. Okay, so what we'll do, there is a module called bcrypt. So let's install that module, which is npm install bcrypt. Okay, so as our bcrypt has been installed, let's go to the backend and we will play with user schema. Let's type user schema dot pre. What is this pre? This pre method here allow us to perform some actions before triggering some particular actions like save. So we have here save, like if we are signing up. See here we are signing up, and here is this save. Now this will allow us to perform some action before this save function occurs. So what we'll do, we will call here asynchronous function. Sorry, asynchronous, which will call the next methods or next functionalities to execute here. So what we'll do, we want that if a person is updating or changing or creating his password, then before saving that password we want to encrypt it. So how we'll do, we will go with if. And how many of you know about this keyword? I think if you know about oops, then all of you must know about this. This is the same as we use in our C++, Java. Actually, this will allow us to access the password of current document or current object. So let's go with this is modified. And what we are looking to modify, we are looking if password is modified, then what we have to do? Nothing. We just simply have to save our password. How? We will use await bcrypt and just hash it. How we will hash? What we have to hash? We have to hash our current password. Now we have to provide a second parameter, second argument as an integer. Like we can provide 10. It is just a key. Like if you guys are familiar with RSA or cryptography, then we provide a key there. This is also a key which we are providing to hash our password. And when this particular functionality is executed, we just will call next. Okay, so this next will now proceed to this save part. Okay, so let's try to register a user with this new functionality here. So if we go to register, let's go with Ratan email 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, let's hit submit. Mm, is everything okay on our server? Okay, let me just restart the server. Connected. Let's hit submit. App cache is waiting for the file changes before starting. Mm-mm-mm. I think everything is fine here. Mm-mm. Save. Okay. Here we are saving. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Mm, I think it shouldn't, produce an error. Oh, sorry. Actually, I have not imported the bcrypt. Require bcrypt. Okay, perfect. Our database is connected. Let me just hit submit. And okay, user registered. Let's see if the password is still, as it is or it is encrypted. See, our password is encrypted now. Now the question comes, how we will, compare or will, you know, our password which is entered by a user while logging is same as it is presented on our, database or not. So how we'll do this? Nothing, just here where we were, saying if password is equal to user dot exist password, we will use just bcrypt dot compare. Bcrypt module provides its own built-in function, which is compare. And what we have to compare? We have to compare password which is provided by the user, and we have to compare the user existing password. So user exists dot password. So this will now give us either error or some result. So let the third parameter or argument will be a callback function, and if the result if the result here is true, then we will say that response send a response with status code 200 saying user logged in successfully. User logged in successfully. Perfect. And sorry. And if the result is not or the result is false, then we will say that it is wrong password. Okay, perfect. Let's go to the login and let's check. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hit submit. Okay, so it is saying logged in successfully. Let's log out and re-log in with the wrong password. Let's go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 5, 7, 8. Okay, so it is saying wrong password. So today we have learned a basic, how to build a user authentication app using MERN stack, using React, using Node, using Express, how to use Mongoose, MongoDB, all that. Okay, so this was all for today. And if you guys are, worrying about the code, you do not have to worry. This code will, provided by a GitHub repo. I will share the link to the GitHub repo. Let me just, drop the link for you guys in the chat box. Bootcamp Chronicles. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I have shared the GitHub repo on chat. So if you guys need to, access to the code, you can access the code on this particular repo. So Kanish, over to you.
Thank you, Ratan bhai. Hello. Hi guys. Welcome back. Okay, Nandan and Rituja, Naresh. Did you get anything from today? Hello. Guys, I'm talking to you. Vaishnavi Gyan? Yeah. because we are open for doubt. Okay. So guys, we have our last session on Web 2 tomorrow. Okay. And there we will conclude about hosting and web security of a website. Meanwhile, we will update the code on the GitHub repo. Okay. With some style or added. And if you do have any query, okay, list it down. We will resolve all by today. Okay. I hope I just want you to create a similar project or like clone this project and do some new experiment with it. Okay, I already shared a documentation website that is devdocs.io. I'm dropping the link again, so you can just check it out and do new things with the front end part. Okay. Like Ratan already created a repo. You can just clone it and add your functionality over to it. And I hope best like if we found really exciting in the file, we will reward by some NFT or by like a goodies to you. Okay. So here it is a link. Yeah. Really you have any query, just shoot it at us right now or we will end the session right away. Just raise your hand if you don't have any query. Just raise your hand. Okay, guys. See you tomorrow. Bye. Good night.